आचार्यों ने वंदन करता। ओम नमो आयर्याणम। उपाध्याय ने वंदन करता। ओम नमो उपाध्यायाणम। सर्व साधु ने वंदन करता। नमो लोए सब साहूणम। सम्यक दर्शन मुझने मर्जो। देसो पंचन मुक्तारो। सम्यक ज्ञान मुझने मर्जो। सर्वा पाप परासनो। सम्यक चारित्र मुझने मर्जो। मंगलानं च सर्वेषु। नवपद्मी आराधना करता। परमं हवै मंगलम। परमं हवै मंगलम। परमं हवै मंगलम।
Jai Jinendra Badai, and good evening. Thank you for joining us today. We're talking about a harmonious way to health with the fabulous Seema Shah. The topic the broader topic we're talking about is a mind, body, and soul approach to health and well-being. Now, I just wanted to make you aware we're doing this is the second webinar, Zoom webinar. The first one we did have already, but it is also on YouTube in June. And Seema will do a quick recap of it, so in case you've missed it, and if you'd like to go and view it, it remains on Oshwal YouTube, as will this call and this presentation. So please do feel free to catch up. So Seema is, I don't know, a lot of you will know her. I saw her first in our Oshwa magazine. She does a lot of the recipes on there. So, that's our claim to fame with Seema. And she's a dentist by profession, but also a holistic coach, health coach, and a yoga instructor. So she's this fabulous package all in one. Without further ado, actually, I will introduce you to Seema, and she can take it away, Seema.
Thank you so much, Shilpa, for the lovely introduction. And thank you to Oshwal Association UK for giving me this opportunity to share about health and well-being. Especially in the South Indian community, sometimes it's nice to have targeted advice in terms of what tools you can take to enhance your health and well-being. So today is all about inspiring all of you, maybe to take 1 or 2 points on board to enhance your health and well-being. But before we do that, Shilpa will put up a screen with a disclaimer and we'll quickly go through that. So the purpose of this talk, just like the first one, and if you haven't heard the first one, I'd highly recommend that you see that, because we covered 3 points during the first one, and we're going to cover 4 more points in this one. And health and well-being is about various different pillars. So definitely see that, but I'll do a quick summary today. So the disclaimer is I'm not a medical doctor. I am a dentist by profession, and I've done other things like worked alongside functional doctors as a health coach, and also done a lot of yoga and meditation as an instructor in terms of camps and classes and workshops. So this presentation is designed to inspire you to get healthier and happier with lifestyle factors. It's not intended to diagnose in any way or treat or offer medical advice for any specific conditions. Please consult your GP or any other healthcare provider before making any changes that can impact and influence your current medical protocols or plans. So do it safely. If you're not sure, consult your medical profession or professionals, and then we can take it from there. But this is all about inspired action to take positive changes safely. If you haven't already got a pen or a paper and you want to jot down some points, or you want to work through it as we're doing it, because I'd like this to be really interactive, what I've found as a health coach especially is when you are proactive and you write things down, you are more likely to then implement it, because what we listen to we forget quickly, but if you've got something to refer back to, then it stays with us a lot longer. And thank you for Oshwal Association UK to make these recordings available on the YouTube channel. The first one's already there, and this one will be loaded for you to refer back to as well. And I've kindly agreed for them to share the slides as well. So should you wish to have that, they should be putting it somewhere on their website or platform. So let's move on and recap on what we covered last time. So thank you, Shilpa, for introducing me. So my journey with holistic health, especially coming from a clinical background, started with my own health challenges, especially after my son was born and his health challenges as well. So we found out when he was 4.5 months old that he had multiple food allergies, including dairy and all types of nuts tested. And as a new mom, I was really stressed. I put on a lot of weight. I had postnatal depression, and I wasn't in a happy place because we couldn't understand what my son's issues were. Obviously, he was too young to talk and express himself. But even prior to that, as a teenager, I had a lot of cystic acne, which was very chronic for many, many years. I still got scars from that. And also, I was overweight when I was young. So all in all, especially my son, despite all the antihistamines, EpiPens and everything, and multiple hospital visits with allergic reactions especially, no one could answer the question as to why that was what caused it, the root cause of it, and what was the solution to treat it. So I went on a journey to explore that, and a blessing was my husband's job took us to the US, where I couldn't practice dentistry. The dental degree from the UK isn't recognized there. So I had time to explore other things, including train as a holistic health coach and a yoga instructor, and worked alongside functional medicine doctors, especially with one as her in-house health coach and her yoga, instructor. So that was what led my journey into finding solutions. And my son's in a lot better place. I'm in a lot better place as well with that. But if you need to know more about my story, then definitely catch up on session 1 if you haven't done so already. So now let's catch up on the slides we went through last time. So this is what we're going to talk about. Last time we talked about the harmony system that I created through Harmonious Way to Health, which is my platform. And we talked about healthy food and drinks, amazing energy, and restful sleep. So those 3 were covered last time. And then we're going to take it from there on and cover the next 4. So healthy food and drinks, we talked about the word slow, seasonal, local, organic, and wholesome foods. I also mentioned a resource, a really good resource which you can use to identify what you should prioritize as organic if you are to prioritize foods for when you have a budget, as what could be conventionally produced food. So again, if you missed that, you can catch the resource on the first recording. Alongside that, I gave tips and tricks for batch cooking, how to eat mindfully, and how to add value to your food to make it more nutritious. And these are some of my recipes you can see on the pictures, where I basically talk through them in the first session to say how I made them more nutritious. So let's move on to the next slide, please. So we talked about amazing energy last time, and I asked you to journal and identify what brings flow in your life and makes you feel amazing, and to contemplate on what your life purpose is, what gives you the joy. Self-care is a priority, and we talked about that. There was some interaction for people commenting on their ways of self-care as well. And the main question is what adds to the quality of my life? Because what you want is to look at yourself and see that you have those precious moments you can cherish going forward. So how can you make each and every day count in one way or the other, or at least specific moments count? So definitely, if you haven't done this, jot them down, and you can basically go back and do this exercise and contemplate on that. And we also talked about restful sleep. The important point with that is, are you waking up refreshed? Because different people need different amounts of sleep in terms of number of hours. However, if you were waking up and you feel tired, then the sleep isn't of good quality or necessary quantity. And we talked about sleep hygiene in terms of how to enhance and what to do or not to do before bedtime to encourage a good sleep. So that's what we covered last time. And today we're going to start off with maintaining balance. So it's from the word harmony. We talked about the first three HAR, and then we're going on to the M today. So why is balance important in life? If you could answer that, if you got pen and paper, if you could answer that, or if you could drop comments in the chat, that would be great to inspire each other. And then, what does your balanced life look like? So this is an example on the picture, and the source is the IIN, which is the Institute of Integrative Nutrition, and it's what they call the circle of life. That is an idea of what their pillars are in terms of a balanced life. However, it could be different for you. For example, if you're a student, yours could be different than, say, somebody who's in a working profession or somebody who's retired. So what does your balanced life look like? Take an inspiration from this diagram, the circle of life from the Institute of Integrative Nutrition, and see what pillars you'd like to incorporate in your balance of life. So you could draw a circle and then put the different sections in the circle that are important to you. For example, relationships, health, and then you could have other things like, say, a career or studies, something to give you creativity or hobbies. So it could be other things that are important to you. And for everyone, their circle of life or their balance in life looks different. It's those things that matter to you. And then once you've done that, see what is more important in terms of balance for life. For some areas, you might be doing better. For other areas, you might feel, I need to work on this area of my life. And note down one area of life that you'd like to work on and improve that area. So I'll give you a moment to think about that and make a note of that or contemplate on that. And then think about, why is balance important? And thank you so much, Urvina. Yes, balance looks different on different days, definitely, because some days we have other things to tune on to than other days. Like, for example, weekdays for many people could be different from weekends. And it's all about knowing what balance means. So thank you so much for that comment. Yes, it is being recorded and it will be uploaded on the YouTube channel for Oshwal. Why is balance important? Absolutely, yes. Supports long-term health. So think about why balance is important to you. For a lot of people, they might find when they work on one area of their life and improve it, it improves all other areas of their life. And there was another comment which came through about burnout. Balance helps to prevent burnout. Absolutely. And that goes with the next point as well about time management. Because what we want to do is conserve our energy to do what is most important. So, for example, when we balance our life and do what we prioritize first, it's like some of you might have heard of that analogy about if you got a vase or a vessel and you got different size of, say, stones and then sand. It's about those priorities, those big stones that you want to put in first, and then smaller stones, which would be things which are important but not of such urgency or priority, which would be representing the big stones. And then what you've also got to do is fill on those other things. And then that's like the sand. But if you put sand in first, the big stones will not sink into the sand because the sand forms a layer. And then the small stones will go on top, but the small stones might not sip in through the big stones. So the idea is to put the big stones in first, then the smaller stones which go between the big stones, and then the sand will sip through those gaps. And that's exactly what we need to do to manage our time. Prioritize those big, important things that increase the quality of our life, bring us the joy, the amazing energy we talked about, enhance our nutrition and health, and also enhances our sleep, which is really important. Sleep is undermined, but it is a very important pillar of health. So what we want to do is those big stones, and then what are those little things we need to do? And then those other things are the filler times, when we've got the spare time and energy, if that makes sense. But thank you so much for the interaction and comments coming through. That's really valuable. So balance, what is balance to you? What are your pillars that you want to balance for your life? Those parts of your life that are important. What's working well in your life? If you are to pick one part of your life that you want to enhance and get better at, what would that be? And also, how do you manage your time well? And what is priority? What adds value to your life? So one thing I really like, and I read in a book, it's by a lady called Julia Cameron, and it's called The Artist's Way. What she's mentioned is, and I know we've got a range of people here, some much wiser, some starting off, as students. But what she says is, if you are to write a letter from your 80-year-old to your current age, whatever it is, what would your 80-year-old say to your current self? So in other words, what would you accomplish all through the time by the time you get to a certain stage in life? So you got no regrets. You feel like you had a life which is enriched and fully lived according to your purpose and passion. So do this later, but think about, if you are to be a certain age in your future, what would your future self tell your current self? And go with that for a compass. For example, my future self wants me to be independent with my health and well-being. I do not want to be reliant on other people. So I'm taking consistent steps now for my health and well-being, the small steps which add up, so that hopefully when I get to a certain age, I'll be healthy and happy, mobile and independent. But for you, it could mean something else. This is just an example for myself. So that's balance and time management. If there are any questions which have come through Shilpa or Smita, please ask them, and then we'll go to the next section.
So we have it's like a statement, but I think we can take it as a question. Radhika is asking, she'd like to be able to set healthy boundaries. You've explained how the homework that you have to do in looking at your ambitions of what you want out of life, what will make your life balanced and make you happy. But she's looking at setting boundaries. Do you have any advice on how she can do that, Seema?
Yeah, thank you so much for asking that, Radhika. And what an important question, because boundaries are very important. And we briefly covered that with the amazing energy about priorities as well. If it's not a definite yes, then it's a no. But it can be a gentle no, because we want to make sure we're doing it in a kind, compassionate way. And a lot of the times we feel we need to justify. So for example, if we can't do something or attend something, a lot of the time it's like, oh, I can't do this, I can't attend this, because a lot of the times we don't need to justify that. Sometimes we just can't, and that's it. But it's all about, it comes from empowering ourselves. So really, when we come from a place of empowerment, it becomes easier to say yes and no. It is tricky. It takes courage. It takes us to feel empowered, to take our confidence back and our ground back. But the people who are your people, family, friends who understand you, respect you, value you, will value your yes and your no. They will understand. And say yes to things that resonate. So when we talk about the circle of life or the balance in life, are the things you're saying yes to resonating with what matters to you? Those areas of your life that matter and you want to work on those priorities. Because we have a habit sometimes, especially, to overcommit ourselves. It's busy, like life demands a lot. This modern living demands a lot. But it's all about priorities as to, I'm saying yes to this. Why? And usually, if you can come to a why which is important enough, that's great. And sometimes it's not a straightforward yes. Then you've got to think about, okay, is it because it's adding value to somebody else's life, somebody who's near and dear to me? Or is it adding value to, so basically, as long as it's positive, adding value, and it's something you want to, time is a limited resource. So if you want to do it, then it's got to be done for the right reasons. But if it doesn't resonate, if it drains you, and we talked about it for the amazing energy, if it's draining, then really good boundaries need to be set about that. I hope that answers that.
That's great. If I could just take it a little bit further, Seema, I'm by no means an expert, but every time I feel that we have these boundaries, and we only sometimes find out afterwards that actually, no, I wanted to do this and I wanted to instead of that. And next time you learn that you will do it. And I think I go through this, and I think you and everyone else will do it, is we feel guilty. We feel guilty that we have, oh, we got it wrong last time. This, maybe this should have been my priority because this is what I feel now, kind of thing. And I guess how do you come back from that? It's self-forgiveness. It's difficult, isn't it? But you should be allowing yourself, I think, to make those mistakes and then learn from them.
Absolutely, we're human after all,
Mm.
and we'll be talking about that in the relationship section, which is coming in a few moments. But
Okay.
yes, it's all about being kind and compassionate, not just to others, but to ourselves as well. So yes, thank you for bringing that up. Any other questions for this particular topic before we move on to the next one?
No, there's no more question. Oh, wait, sorry,
Sorry,
Shilpa.
no problem. We have a comment.
Yeah, go on.
Boundaries often come with guilt and shame. I feel in the Asian culture, it is not something we as women do very well. Self-sacrificing attitude, and it's often trial and error. I guess, would you want to comment on that, Seema?
Yes, it is difficult in certain cultures, certain societies, because it's a generational thing as well that we've been brought up with. So it is difficult. And that's why doing it compassionately, but one has to empower themselves, overcome the guilt, overcome the shame, because, and it's not easy. It is difficult, especially if that's been ongoing for a long time. However, when we do it for love for ourselves and others, and we lovingly do it, at first there might be hurdles, but eventually it's a win-win situation for everyone. We talked about for amazing energy how, for example, airlines tell you to put your oxygen mask first, because if you're passed out, you're not going to be able to help somebody else. And then we talked about cup half full, half empty. And when you fill it to the brim, that's you nourishing yourself. And then the overflow is when you can give out to others. And sometimes guilt and shame are those things which drain us. It's like emptying a cup. It's like a battery running low. And it's all about finding the tools that work. So for some people, it could be meditation. For other people, it could be connecting with nature or relationships that really add value. So people who understand you. There are various ways of doing it. For me, yoga, meditation, working with chakras is a great way, which I do quite often because that helps to align. But everyone finds their own way of dealing with it. a lot of inner work needs to be done. And one way I find really useful is journaling, because if you can't express yourself and emotions to others openly, at least writing them down, journaling it to kind of let it out is better than things being left in as well. But it's not easy. Everyone's got different circumstances. It is difficult, especially in the South Asian community as well. But there are different responsibility expectations. But it's all about finding those pockets of moments we mentioned last time, even if it's 5 minutes here and there, without the guilt, without the shame, to nourish yourself.
Thank you, Seema. There's just one comment. It's just a comment, and then we can move on. And listening to our hearts is really important. And if thoughts that come in the mind that makes one feel negative or conflicted, then change the thought and reframe. Of course, this would take a lot of practice, but can be done.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Reframing thoughts. So coming from a statement which is not so conducive to one which is positive definitely makes a difference. And that's where affirmations come in and other tools come in. So yeah, Shilpa, if that's something, because I do work on mindset and, like meditation and other stuff. So if that's something that people are interested in, I'm happy to do one with Oshwal, like another, session. But yeah, there are tools to work around that, definitely.
Yeah, that'd be great. Looking forward to it. We'll just move on now, Seema, to the next one. I'll just bring it up. Here, I think you can see it now.
Right. Yes, I can. Thank you.
No problem.
So the O for harmony is overcoming stress. Now, jot down, what does the word stress, or what does stress mean to you? And write the first thing which comes to mind, because when we overthink, our logical mind takes on. So what does stress mean to you? What's coming intuitively to you? Okay, so stress is basically a change in our biological process. So for example, there are various things that are needed for stress. Some is positive, which is basically acute stress. So if we have to go away from danger and protect ourselves, if you got your hand on a hot pen and you have to withdraw it really quickly, then that's a good response because you're getting away from danger. In the old days, the description given is running away from a tiger or a lion, because we need the stress mechanism to play very quickly for acute situations. But when it becomes chronic, so long-term, like especially low-grade long-term stress, and it lingers and lingers and lingers, it can be very damaging to health and well-being, physically, mentally, emotionally, and also for those of you who are into spiritual practices, sometimes those other stress factors affects, like for example, it can cause physical aches and pains. It can cause a lot of mindset, like the mind wandering. It's either anxiety, depression, or other things coming into play. So what we want to do is try and find ways to overcome that chronic stress that is the modern day stress that is lingering, and things in our mind that shouldn't be there long term, and make peace with them. However, the positive stress is also known as eustress. So basically EU and stress together. And this is the motivating stress, because if we didn't have this factor, or the body going through the stress response, then we wouldn't be motivated, for example, to get out of bed or get things done, our goals, our vision into action. So a little bit of that motivating factor is needed, and we've got to appreciate that. So whatever stress means to you, write 3 ways currently that, or things that stress you out the most in your life at this stage in your life. So if you write those down, if you can, that would be great, because the next thing I want you to do is what helps you relax in those situations when you're going through that stress factor. So for example, for somebody who's working, if one of the stresses is a work environment or situation, then what can you do which is positive to counteract that? So 3 things which stress you out, and then 3 ways, one for each of ways you can combat the stress in that particular situation. So I'll give you a moment to contemplate on that. And well done, because when we write things down and honor ourselves, how we feel, we acknowledge things, when we're aware of those things, we can make changes faster. The problem is when we're not aware of those things or ignorant of issues that are in our lives, it's more difficult to deal with them. So now I invite you all. It's going to be a simple exercise that we're going to do, and we're going to breathe our way to calmness together. So I invite you to close your eyes and observe your breath. Does your breath seem fast and quick and shallow? Or does it feel slow and calm and deep? Now, if you need to adjust your posture, if you're seated, shoulders back, and just have an upright position that feels comfortable to you, just adjust your posture. So opening the chest space so there's more gap in your thoracic, your lung area. And take a deep breath in. Now hold your breath and then slowly breathe out. Once again, hold and then breathe in deeply and consciously. And I'll let you do a few rounds at your own pace. Maybe you want to count to 4 as you breathe in, 4 as you hold, count to 4 as you exhale, and then 4 as you hold again. This is called box breathing. All you have to do is quieten your mind as you focus on your breath. If the mind is wandering, focus on the counting. And as you did this a few rounds, your physiology, your body will automatically shift. The deeper the breath, we engage the vagus nerve and what's known as our parasympathetic nervous system, which is the relaxing part of our nervous system. And if you're more advanced, you can do, say, 4 breathing in, hold it, and as you breathe out, you could do up to 8. So you double, in effect, you make the exhalation longer and more conscious. But start with the 4, 4, 4, and 4 box breathing if you're starting this. And if you want to take your journey further, as you breathe in, you imagine each and every cell of your body getting energized and vitalized, those happy thoughts coming in, something positive. And with each exhalation, imagine letting go of stress, tension, letting things dissipate that don't serve your highest and greatest good. So try that once again as you close your eyes. And as you breathe in, feel energized, have a smile on your face, and feel happy. And hold that thought. And as you breathe out, letting go of that which doesn't serve your highest good, just letting it go. And hold that thought as you empty your mind. And you can practice this at home. And you could have your own affirmation, like something positive related to your individual things you want to deal with in terms of your stresses and how to overcome them. We will be sharing a slide later with my email address and how to get in touch. So if you need help with this or an affirmation, by all means get in touch with me later and I'm happy to guide you. So Shilpa, Smita, any questions that have come through regarding stress?
Nothing at the moment. We have a comment that just says the feeling of emotional and physical tension is what makes someone feel, that's their form of stress, physical and emotional and physical tension. So, but no questions yet.
Right, thank you. Yes, and stress can manifest physically as well. A lot of the time, it's mindset causing changes physically as well. For example, if as an example, depression, people normally have a closed in posture. If they're anxious, it's more like they're not as grounded. So sometimes stress and tension wearing the body and how you hold it could be related to posture and other things related to certain mindset patterns, certain emotions, like somebody mentioned, the guilt, the shame. So it's all about a mind, body, and a soul approach to understanding what is the root factor causing the stress. And the physical manifestation could be something else, like an emotion or a mind pattern that needs to be worked on as well, if that makes sense. So again, if that person wants to email later, I can help guide them a little bit more. But yes, there's more to stress. It's not just physical, it's got various different things. So let's move on to the next section. Okay, any pressure points? Yes, there is some tapping, like people might have heard of emotional freedom technique. There's certain pressure points, reflexology in the arm and feet and things like that. Like hands, even ear pressure points. So there's various different things people can do to relieve stress. It's like what part of the body is affected and what part of, say, the palm, the soles of the feet or the ear is related to that area of the body or that emotion or the area of tension. So research EFT, which is emotional freedom technique, and reflexology and pressure points as well, or find somebody close to you who does that. So nurturing relationships is the N of harmony. So we've talked last time about healthy foods and drink, which is the H. We talked about amazing energy, the A. Then the R was restful sleep. We've talked about maintaining balance, which is the M. O is overcoming stress, which we've just talked about. N is nurturing relationships. So I want to ask you all, and if you drop it in the comment, who is the most important person in your life? Think about that. Thank you. Yes, I can see one comment come through. Let's have a few more comments come through. Thank you. So we've got me, we got myself and my sons, my children. It's been a long journey. Now it's myself. Thank you everyone for your comments. So let me put a thought in your head. If the other people who are the most important in your life, why is that the factor? Your own soul, thank you so much. What is it? What's so precious about them? What is important? What is it? Why are they important? And yes, every interaction we have in life is important. However, the most important person, somebody mentioned the soul. Our body is the temple for our soul. So the most important relationship we have with ourselves is ourselves, because when we nourish the most important relationship we have, person, that's you, then you have more to give out to others. It's like, say, if you got a device, an electronic device, It's filling up the battery, filling up your relationship with yourself. So that's like getting it to 100%. Then you got more vitality, more energy to then give out to others. But if one is running on a low battery, there's very little that we can give out to others, and we burn out very quickly. So one of the questions which was earlier, Shilpa, that you mentioned was the burnout one. And that's why nurturing relationship with ourselves is very, very important to avoid the burnout. And the balance in life is very important in terms of the priorities to feel more vital, more energized, and have a better quality of life. So what matters to you in relationships? So it could be like values or beliefs. So for some people, it could be say things like honesty or simplicity or, adventure, things like that. Whatever it means to you, think about 3 things that really matter to you in the relationships that you have in your life. Those 3 non-negotiable things. It could be qualities of yourself that you see in others or you seek in others, or it could be things that you admire in others that you want to see more in yourself. So what really matters to you to nurture relationships with others and yourself? So I'll give you a moment to contemplate on that and jot that down. So there was a comment earlier about love forgiveness. Unconditional love for ourselves and radical forgiveness, starting with ourselves, really is the key that then emanates to others. Honesty, thank you. A quality that matters. Thank you so much for sharing. Honesty came through. So unconditional love and forgiveness, which comes from a heart space, a heart chakra, for those of you who know the chakra system, that helps to unblock a lot of guilt, shame, fear, a lot of delusion, being inauthentic, and that feeling of being like separate from, everything around us. So those are the keys. And I know for Paryushan last year with one of the other Jain organizations, I did a self-forgiveness meditation. And I did 2, but one of them was specific of self-forgiveness. And it is profound when we work for our self-forgiveness, because when we forgive ourselves radically, and it's not just forgiving ourselves for 1 or 2 things, it's really making peace with whatever's happened in the past. We did what we thought was best at that moment in time, and we all go through our own growth patterns and our own transitions in life. I'm not the same person I was 2 to 3 weeks ago, because I've learned in those 2 to 3 weeks things that I wouldn't have known back then, because you're constantly learning. Life is teaching things, whether you're, learning from, say, being a student, but life, the experiences enrich life. And when we learn to forgive ourselves, we have more love for ourselves, more kindness, more compassion for ourselves. And we can see things in a different dimension when it comes to our interaction with others. Not easy, especially as somebody commented in the South Asian community, certain things like boundaries. So it's not easy, but try this. Say, I forgive myself, and write a page or 2 later of whatever comes through. Don't think too much. So it's not coming from your logical mind. Just let it come from intuition. There might be things that flash in your head as to things that are coming through that need to be written and let out. Just let it be. And then once you've written it and you can write no more, read that. And in the Jain, we got the prayer, the Shamapna, where we ask for forgiveness for others and them forgiving us, but think about that to yourself as well. Radically forgive yourself. That's the best gift you can give to yourself, to cultivate more love, more self-worth, and more appreciation for you, because there's no one like you in the world. You are unique. Even if you're a twin or a triplet, ultimately, you are a unique being. You are a soul here with a unique purpose, and you're a unique being. So forgive yourself, be kind to yourself, and cultivate more self-love. Journal every day. If it doesn't come through once, then I forgive myself, and whatever comes through, keep on doing it. And eventually there will be a space where you make a breakthrough and you'll see life in a different dimension. And I can tell that because I've done that myself. And I came back a lot better once I'd worked through it, and it's working through a heart space. So hopefully that's helpful. And if there's any questions which have come through from the nurturing relationships, and it's about relationships with ourselves first, then with our near and dear ones, and then out to the whole world. And that extends beyond human beings, our relationship with every living being out there. So any questions?
We've not had any questions yet, but how long do you think that takes? You said, at first, and I know it's like asking how long is a piece of string, but you've asked that we journal, it doesn't come through once, we keep doing it. It's practice, right? How long do you think it takes? Like for somebody who's middle-aged like me, or is it different if you're younger? I'm just wondering.
So everyone's on a different journey. Everyone's had a different life experience. Everyone reacts differently to so. But we could all we all in this webinar together. But I'm sure everyone's resonating with different things according to what applies to them and their lives. So the same situation could have different meanings for everyone. So do it as long as your soul needs to go through this journey for self-forgiveness to evolve.
And okay, that's important. But is there a point, and what is that point, where you realize that actually you have radically forgiven yourself now? You have done it. Is there a feeling? Is there a lighter shoulders? I don't know. Is there anything physical that tells you that you've reached this point?
For me, I felt more peaceful. And for everyone, it's a different journey.
Okay.
I felt more at peace with myself and others around me. So I wouldn't be as reactive to situations, places, people. I would find the positive in it, find the peace in it. And my boundaries got better as well. Because what happens, and I'll talk about that later, is when we work through one aspect of our life, it impacts everything. You look at things in a different perspective. But for everyone, it will be something different. And there's another thing coming through. If somebody doesn't want to talk, honestly, writing down in your own kind of solitude, or even being in nature and just brainstorming things. So you're working them out, walking them out. Movement is a great way to shift emotions. So is water. That's why they say that people have, a lot of breakthroughs and ideas coming through, say, for example, when they're having a shower, because water is a very cleansing energy. It's got this energy about it. And so movement of sorts, or writing. So that's why I quite like writing pen on paper, because it's different from typing. It's basically the flow of things and how it engages the brain. But try whatever works for you. Be it, being in nature, if you feel safe to have conversation with somebody that you can trust, great. For a lot of people, doing it at their own. And when you do it with your own clarity, intuitively, the messages will come from within.
Okay.
It is a journey, though.
It's a journey.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Somebody's Ria's put just a comment that a good book is The Let Them Theory by Mel Robinson.
Yes, it is a good book. And yes, it's all about focusing on ourselves. And it's about letting others be. How can we change, but not focusing on how others around us can change, or not doing it for people pleasing and other things. It's all about empowering ourselves. It is a profound book, so definitely explore that.
Yeah. And there's one more comment saying sometimes when you're hurt so much, it is really difficult to forgive.
It is difficult. It is difficult. It doesn't come easy. But what we've got to think about is, by holding on to this, who is the one that's got the most damage? Is it ourselves? Is it somebody else? And some of you might have heard this story about two Buddhist monks who wanted to cross a river. And there was a lady on one side, and it was raining, it was flooded. One of them helped her cross the river, and he left her at the other side. They walked, and the other one still had in their mind why, because it was forbidden to kind of interact with women or touch women. And then he finally had the courage to ask the first monk who did that act, why did you do that? Because he had a lot of anger, a lot of confusion. And the first one said, I left her by the riverbank. You still carrying her. In other words, the second one had her, in the mind. The first one had left her physically, that had done his duty, left it there. So in other words, we got to think about, by not forgiving, who's undergoing the physical and the physiological stress and strain, who's undergoing the emotional tension and the stress factors which come with mindset and emotions as well. Who's the one suffering the most? Is it us, or is it the other person or the other people? So, from that factor, look at it, journal, and then, a lot of answers will come through.
One last question we have, Seema. That was a fantastic analogy, by the way. What if someone does not want to talk or interact with you, although you have forgiven or you feel that you have not done anything wrong? How do you nurture that relationship?
Okay, just nurture the relationship with yourself, make peace with it. And I know Urina suggested the Let Them book by Mel Robbins. That's a good resource to go by as well, because we can't change others. We can't change their perception. What we can change is our perception of what the situation is and make peace with it.
Perfect answer. I'll just share the next slide. Is that okay?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. Okay, so finally the why, which is the yielding exercises. Word yielding being very important. So we've talked about harmony, each letter for harmony, as in harmonious way to health. First thing to ask yourself is, why do you exercise? If you do exercise, and if you don't, also ask yourself, why don't I exercise? So I'll give you a few moments to think about that and jot anything that comes through. And if you wish to share, please comment. So for some people, they want to exercise because they want better heart health, for example, mentally and physically to help them. Exercise gets more oxygen to the brain, especially with aerobics exercise, so more clarity and focus to release stress, movement of emotions. Thank you so much for all the comments you guys are writing. And also for flexibility, for strength. Thank you. Yielding exercises. Yes, absolutely. They're great. And what I want you to focus on is, it's not just the physical changes. Some of you know that there's mental, emotional shifts as well with movement. And yielding exercises are things that give you that shift, mind, body, and soul. Yes, happiness as well. So keeping fit physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually as well, like yoga as a practice, just as an example, and it could be walking in nature for you or anything else, that gives a lot of clarity in a lot of aspects and dimension. Now, next, ask yourself, what do I enjoy in terms of exercises and movement? Because that is the golden key to keep it consistent, fun, and something that you look forward to on a regular basis. So it needs to be something you enjoy, because when we don't enjoy anything in life, not just exercises, if we don't enjoy certain places, being around certain people or their company, we don't enjoy certain foods, for example, we less likely to be in a situation where we encounter those or interact in that way. So the same goes with exercise. What do you enjoy? And there lies your key as to what if you don't start, you haven't started exercising, start from there. If you're doing it, incorporate more of that as well. So that's a good starting point. And then accountability. Have you got somebody that you can exercise with? For example, if you go on a walk, can you do it with somebody? Do you go to group classes, or maybe are a member of a gym? Perhaps even a personal trainer, anything that resonates with you. But when you hold yourself accountable, when somebody knows about it, if you've got somebody to interact with, or even a tracker, if you don't have anyone, if you've got an app or a tracker to hold yourself accountable that you've done something, that's very powerful. So I'd strongly encourage you to hold yourself accountable, or have somebody to hold you accountable, or somebody who's got a similar hobby in terms of exercising, so yoga, or walking in nature, or aerobics, or anything like that. Find friends who like similar things, or family members, co-workers, any situation, but do it consistently from a place of joy. See the benefits of doing it, and really do it together. That makes a big impact as well. If you can. If you're doing it by yourself, then make sure you're consistent, at least hold yourself accountable. So yeah, that's what I wanted to cover. Now, this is just a tip of an iceberg of what we've covered today, because obviously there's a lot more to all these pillars and health in general. And like I mentioned in the first talk, I want intergenerational families, like it could be a child of 7 and a grandparent of 70 under the same household, where everyone sees health and well-being in a simple way and help each other out. And very often in the South Asian community, we've got families interacting, intergenerational interaction on a regular basis. So I wanted to simplify this as much as possible. As a clinician, it's very easy to use jargon and like scientific things, but I wanted to really simplify it to its very basics, so everyone can implement 1 or 2 points, whether you come from a scientific background or not, and whatever stage in life you're at. So thank you so much, all of you. And what I've got is the next slide will have my details, my email address, and a website. What I've got for all of you, if you wish, is a free healthy eating guide. And the free healthy eating guide you can find on my website, Harmonious Way to Health. And it's got 5 tips to eat healthier. And it's got a green juice recipe as well, which is great for like spring, summer time as well. So yeah, that's yours for free. All you have to do is go on the website, and then you put in your name and email address, and you can find that resource. If there's any questions which come through even after this, or you need any guidance, feel free to email me. And if you're on Instagram, I'm often posting health and well-being posts, so you can find me at Harmonious Way to Health. And I'd like to thank Oshwal Association UK and the support team of Shilpa, Smita, and Kilit for hosting this. And thank you to all of you for participating. Now, if you got any questions, I'm happy to answer them. So yeah, over to you, Shilpa.
Well, you've just taken my thunder. I was going to thank you, Seema, first of all, for giving up your time with these absolute jewels of information, right? So thank you so much. Of course, I have to thank Kilip, who has been brilliant at both times at hosting this, and his Zoom team. And thank you, Smita, for supporting me today.
I didn't do much.
You know, in terms of looking at the questions and things like that, and most importantly, the audience. We've had about 60 participants, Seema, so not bad going for a Sunday evening, I feel. It has been an absolute pleasure. So let's open out for a few minutes if anybody does have any questions. If not, we will say our goodbye here. So far,
There's
there's
no
just been.
questions. No.
Say that again, Smita.
There's no other questions, just everyone thanking Seema.
Yeah, Seema, you're a hit. Obviously, everyone is just thanking you and saying it's a great, great session, great information.
Thank you so much. And
Yeah.
I'd love to know where people joined in from. Is it mainly UK? Because I've sent it on my groups, like I've got clients from US and other areas. Is there anyone from abroad especially who's joined in?
We can ask. Can somebody put in the chat if you have joined in from anywhere other than UK? It seems UK it is.
Really? Okay, thank you. Lovely.
Kenton.
Yeah.
Lovely. Thank you so much, everyone. So you got my email address. Shilpa, could we put up the slide once again if anyone wants to write down the details? Thank you. So it's seema@harmoniouswaytohealth.com if you got any questions. If you're on Instagram, you can find me on Harmonious Way to Health, and you can message me there as well. And it's a lot of inspiring health and well-being and plant-based posts that I do. And then website is harmoniouswaytohealth.com. There's a free healthy eating guide on that. You basically need your name, email address, and it's yours. It will be emailed out to you straight away after you do that. And that's my gift to all of you. It's got a recipe as well. And hopefully with what we've talked about today and with that resource, you'll carry on. But I'd love to hear from you, even if it's a few weeks down the line, and see if you implemented anything and if it's made an impact in your life. Thank you so much.
हरिहंत प्रभु ना दर्शन करता ओम नमो हरिहंताणम सिद्ध प्रभु ना दर्शन करता ओम नमो सिद्धाणम आचार्यों ने वंदन करता ओम नमो आयर्याणम उपाध्याय ने वंदन करता ओम नमो उपाध्यायाणम सर्व साधु ने वंदन करता नमो लोए सब साधुणम सम्यक दर्शन मुझने मर्जो पंचन मुक्तारो सम्यक ज्ञान मुझने मर्जो सम्यक चारित्र मुझने मर्जो मंगलानंद नव पद्मी आराधन करता